Thank you very much to Agile Festival Trends for having me among the panelists. I just wanted to introduce myself quickly. So my name is Christophe Martineau. I'm from Belgium. I'm living in Barcelona. And basically what I can tell about myself is that I've been working for big companies for more than 20 years. I've been working in companies like L'Oréal, like Danone, like Abbott, Sanofi. And after 20 years, I decided to quit the corporate life in order to dedicate myself to a more different job, which is helping organizations to transform themselves and to adapt new ways of working. And the reason why I did and took that decision is basically because for me, it was really important to put the employees at the heart of any organization. And this is kind of a nice segue for me to start my presentation, because I always like to show this theory from James Lee Heskett from Harvard Business School, who explained basically that when employees are satisfied and are happy in their job, the satisfaction they will bring to customer will be much higher. It will increase the customer loyalty, and this long term will impact also the revenue and growth for the organization. And then having that in mind and knowing that employee satisfaction is so important, it's also very important to take into account that we're living in a new reality. So for many years, people have been talking about VUCA environment. And nowadays we're talking about the BANI environment, which is also kind of a way to express what is the new reality companies and organizations are facing. So from volatile to brittle, from uncertain to anxious, from complex to nonlinear, to ambiguous and to incomprehensible, organizations are facing an environment which is very complicated and very complex to understand. And this is bringing me to a different step. In the past, probably organizations were facing simple situations or complicated situations where simply they had some knowledge among or within the organization in order to respond to some of the changes they were facing. But nowadays, companies are facing much more complex situations where there is no knowledge. And this is forcing the organization to change the way they're working. They have to work more with the probe approach, a sense approach, and a respond approach. But however, we still have many people or many organizations that are not changing the way they are working. And this has been defined by Albert Einstein as insanity, meaning doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Talking about employees, it's also important to consider that the jobs have evolved enormously. I'm not such a young guy anymore, and when I started to work, there was no internet. And by the arrival of internet and the new technologies, the jobs among of the people within the organization has changed and evolved tremendously. Customers also have evolved. And nowadays, when we used to say customers know what they want, I think that today customers not always know what they want, and they need to be accompanied by organizations in order to define what are their needs. On top of that, we should also add the fact that people and employees nowadays are requesting a much more balanced, a bigger balance between work and life. And this is characterized, for instance, by the quiet quitting movement, which is people doing the right amount of hours, but not more. They never do the extra miles anymore. And we have to add to that, that after the pandemics, many organizations are moving to a more remote way of working. So collaboration is already difficult when you're face-to-face, but being remote collaboration is even more complex. So putting all this together, the environment that is changing, that is unstable, that is incomprehensible and non-linear, plus the way that most of the organizations are not changing their way of working, this is bringing us to the fact that people are not engaged with their company. There are some interesting data shown in Gallup reports telling that 8 out of 10 employees are not engaged at work. So the big question here is, okay, so what or how are we supposed to grow, to make an organization grow when we have people not motivated or disengaged in their companies. So this is really important for employers to consider. They have to understand that they need to change to become more attractive for their employees, but also to provide more value for their customers. So the question has been raised, could Agile be the solution? Everybody is talking about Agile. And what does that mean to be an Agile organization? So before we go there, I think it's important to understand that we don't care about Agile. I don't care about Agile, and CEOs don't care about Agile. What they're willing to see are results. And what has been demonstrated among other companies, McKinsey has shown that companies that have been implementing Agile ways of working have seen their revenue increasing between 20 and 40%. On top of that, they've also seen that their teams are able to be more to be faster in execution and to be more productive, that they are more aligned with the strategy and the focus, that they are also able to adapt and more flexible to the changes, that they're much more client-oriented, and they are much more entitled or enabled to provide value to their clients. They're able to prioritize better, to collaborate better as a team, and basically, at the end of the day, the team are more motivated. So knowing that, the interesting question is, what is this business agility? I know that Evan was here this morning in order to discuss about business agility, and this definition comes from him, actually. It's a set of organizational capabilities, behaviors, and way of working that enables an organization to be more flexible, to be more resilient, and to face the changes that the future can bring. Another definition given by the Agile Business Consortium is that it is the ability for an organization to adapt quickly to market changes, internally and externally. Ivan mentioned that before, that teams are able to be restructured quickly, sometimes within an hour, to just face the new changes within the market, respond rapidly and flexibly to customer needs. This is really important because remember what we said, customers do not always know what they want. It's an organization that has the ability to adapt and lead change in a productive and cost-effective way without compromising quality. And then finally, it's an organization that has the ability to be continuously at a competitive advantage. And the 5 characteristics of an agile organization are the following one. Usually, companies or organizations that are more agile have worked on their strategy. They have the strategy like a North Star embodied across the organization, meaning that they have a shared purpose and vision. They are able to seize the opportunities that are coming up. They are flexible. They're able to allocate the resources flexibly. Ivan also mentioned the fact that budgets are not tied, but you're able as an organization to reallocate budgets according to the needs of the market. And you also have work on the structure. So normally agile organizations are networks of empowered teams. And this is also very important. We're talking about a flat structure where teams are enabled, they are empowered, and they are fit for purpose. So another part of or characteristic of the organization, it's about processes. The organization working in an agile way of working are able to take decisions rapidly, and they're able to learn. So it's iterating, trying, testing, validating what they're testing, learning from their failure, learning from their testing, and improve all the time what they're doing. They're composed of people, of course, very high-skilled people, and those people are organized in cross-functional teams, and those teams are also self-organized. And here, what's really important is the figure of the leader. The leader is not a manager that is controlling, it's a manager that is empowering the team, showing the direction, and is at the service of the team. And then lastly, the agile organization normally are characterized by the fact that they have the technology that enable them to put in place all this. So as you can understand, business agility requires a transformation process. And usually it comes from being a traditional company with a hierarchical way of working, where the focus is on control and where everybody has to be aligned. And the transformation goes across those different axes that I mentioned before: strategy, structure, process, people, and technology. And we're moving to a more agile way of working, where the focus is on creating value for the customer, speed, and again, on the customer. So most of you are probably familiar with Agile, and you know that it's about a mindset. And the first thing that is important in Agile transformation, it's the mindset. Then you will have the value, the principles that are the base for the mindset, and then will come the practices. And I think Ivan also mentioned it in his talk. No matter the practices you will implement, if the mindset is not there, nothing will happen and your transformation won't succeed. So transformation, in order to be successful, has to be supported and sponsored by the leaders. The leaders have an important impact on the organizations, and they are the ones that are responsible to share the environment in order to make or to empower this transformation. There is this famous equation from Lewin saying that behaviors are a function of people and environment. So meaning by that, that we have, or leaders have to design an environment where they will be able, that will enable, let's say, the change behavior. Typical phrase also, culture follows the structures. So by changing the structure, you might have an impact on the culture, because the culture is at the heart of it. So usually when we talk about transformation, we have to think at where are we? We are at A, let's say the old world, and we have to move to point B, that is the new world, right? And the first step we recommend people to do is to see how your organization culture operates. There are many surveys or tools available online in order to define what is the structure of the culture of your actual organization. I've put here one example. You have the QR code if you want to use it. It's a survey that has been designed by the Agile Business Consortium, and it's pretty good because you will have some results in order to know at what level your organization is and how can you move or how can you work in order to improve your organizational structure. Another amazing tool, it's the team health check. And I really recommend this for the teams. It's based on studies that have been done by Mr. Hackman and Mrs. Wakeman about the 6 conditions for team effectiveness. And what it's very powerful, and I'm not able to go into details because of the lack of time, but you have the 6 conditions on the left of the slide, the essentials and the enablers. So the essentials, it's having a real team, having the right people within this team, and having a compelling purpose. And then the second part is having the enablers. So to be sure that we have a sound structure, that we have a supportive context, meaning that we don't have an organization or a structure that impedes the change, and that we also have in place team coaching. I also recommend you to have access to more information. I put there a QR code if you want to download more information about that. So basically, agile organization, it's moving from a traditional to a more agile organization. It's a transformation. It's leaders that are the one that will pulse or incentivize this move. And McKinsey has also put in evidence that there are 4 basic steps in order to boost your chances of success to 75%. And those are the 4 steps. First, ensure that the top team gets it. ensure that they understand what is Agile. And it's not just by a simple training, it's constant training, constant coaching, and making sure that the values and the principles are well integrated by the leadership team. Second one, be intentional and go after value. So we have to understand across the different Agile practices what are the ones that are bringing value to your organization. You can decide, okay, nowadays, I mean, from one day to another, we will start implementing Scrum, for instance. This won't be successful if the mindset is not there and if this is not of value for your organization. The third one is go beyond agile teams and build connective tissues. This is exactly what I mentioned before. We have to change the entire operating model. We have to work across the strategy, the structure, the processes, the people, and the technology in order to make a transformation successful. And then finally, we have to maintain a high speed and use front runners, meaning by that we have to maintain a sustainable pace in order to make sure that this is not one decision that has been taken by the leadership, but that there is a real pace into the transformation in order to make it successful. So this has also been taken by from Even. I've adapted a little bit. Business agility, actually, it's a discipline. I like to call it a discipline. So it's an ongoing journey, and there is no end state. So this is what I like about agility. It's about reflecting and improving all the time. There are no specific processes or practices. Any organization has to find the one that are valuable for them. And there are 10,000 ways of doing it, the transformation. There is no single approach, no framework or practices for business agility. So for me, my message is business agility. It's a discipline. This is something that you need to work on every day to be practicing and to stop, reflect, and improve constantly. Thank you for your attention, and please feel free to connect with me if you have any questions or any doubts about my presentation. Thank you very much.